This is an awkward
And
turtle.
now we'll just sit here awkwardly.
Awkward turtles make weird babies.
Welcome to the Incoherent Fangirl.
Where we have, brace yourselves, two authors today. So our This Week in Fangirling is going to be very, very short.
I am Karin from Adeline River Farm.
And I'm Mandy of Jasper, North Carolina.
Welcome back to the podcast.
Welcome.
We're very excited.
I can't believe this. So our settings are going to change slightly because we are interviewing two authors at two different times. So the lighting may look weird if you're a patron and you're watching.
Yes, but it's fine because all will be amazing.
Now it's time for me to call the police on Karin because she's going to say
So
something
sorry.
awful. Hold on, let me get my phone out.
I love you. In our timeline, it is October 12th, and in y'all's timeline, it is October 20th.
Ew. I will have a new nephew
Yeah.
next time we record. My sister's being induced on the 16th. So yeah, I'm going to have him
Exciting
snuggling a baby by the time you guys hear this.
So exciting.
I know, I can't wait.
Sending all the good vibes.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's awesome.
This week in fangirling, we're going to make it very brief. We're going to tell you what we read, and that's it. If you want to know the details, you can look it up on our Goodreads accounts.
Yeah, like it's there.
We just don't have the time for going into everything this week.
Especially with two authors.
Yeah.
Okay, so I listened to an early copy of Behind the Seams, My Life in Rhinestones by Dolly Parton. Love her. And I read The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young, and I've started Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. Thoughts are on Goodreads. Yeah, it was a great week.
I read Find Him Where You Left Him Dead by Kristen Simmons, Barely Missing Everything, and its sequel, The Broke Hearts by Matt Mendez, In for a Penny by Caroline Frank. Please check trigger warnings on that one. Very important. The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young, and The Luminaries by Susan Dennard.
Yay!
So again, if you want our thoughts or just our ratings, check out our Goodreads accounts. They're all there. Promise.
All right. So do you have a fictional boyfriend this week?
I do. I picked two, and it's both the boys from June Farrow, Mason and...
I loved Mason.
I
like them both, but...
I know. The whole time I was like, Mason. I love Mason.
I don't want to give away any spoilers, but Mason.
I know. Mason. But also like the other one.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I like them both.
Yeah.
But Mason. I loved him.
That's good book boyfriend.
From like the beginning. I was like, oh, Mason.
I know. You know, I love the boy from home, like the best friend from home.
Yeah.
Gets my heart beating. So
yeah. So there we go. Those are mine.
And there's a line where he's like, he was the only one who ever chose her.
God. Yes. Love. Amazing.
Yes. Love it. Okay. So mine is going to be Roman C. Kit from Ruthless Vows. Again, he's been my fictional boyfriend before. I'm only a few chapters in. Nothing has been answered for me yet. Well, a lot has been answered, but nothing has been answered in the way you want it to be. But I love this man so much. I'm telling you, Divine Rivals was Hosier crawl home to her vibes, and my God, am I obsessed.
I love it.
I'm in bad for Roman. So yeah, Roman C. Kit.
Love it. And that sound means we have an intruder alert.
Oh my God, this time it's Saint's mother. So you don't know this, Adrienne, but he's always here. This isn't like we put this book here. Like I've got Fable and Namesake on the other side because they're so pretty, but we've started joking that he's like the third host.
Yes.
He's always in the fangirl because he's always here brooding over my shoulder, even though he looks so much more sinister on camera than he actually is.
I'm imagining what he would say if he did chime in. What would
right? Especially when we do our fictional boyfriend of the week segment.
Every week he's like it's the same person.
Yeah. So we have Adrienne Young This is
Yes.
crazy. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're so excited to chat with you, especially about June Farrow. We both just read it. It's phenomenal.
I can't stop thinking about it.
It's amazing. It's was like breathtaking. I was so enamored by it. So I know you have said people, and I think I agree with it, go into this book blindly, without
Mhm.
too much information about it. But is there any kind of like little elevator pitch you can kind of give about the book for anybody who wants a little tidbit as to what it's about?
Yeah. Yeah. So I've kind of started saying this because so many people who have reviewed the book early all say that. Like if you look at the early reviews, everybody's like, don't look up anything about this book. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I'll take that. That must be the right advice. But yeah, so the book is about, I mean, the non-spoiler version is that the book is about a woman named June. She comes from a long line of women who all suffer from the same curse. And that is that at some point in their life, they will begin to go mad and it will ultimately be the cause of their demise. And so she just has finished taking care of her grandmother who raised her for several years before she died. And the book opens with the funeral of her grandmother, where for the first time, June is kind of facing the future and her fate alone. And what she hasn't told anyone is that she has begun to see the signs. You know, she just took care of her grandmother who passed from the same thing. And she, for about a year, she has secretly been seeing things, hearing things that aren't there. And she hasn't told anybody yet. And so the book kind of begins there. And once it's, you know, the story starts unraveling, she's kind of sent down this rabbit hole of discovering more about the women in her family and their secrets. And there's a lot that she doesn't know. So that's, I think that's like the least spoilery thing I can say, other than the fact that there's mystery, there's romance, there's magic, small town vibes, you know, all of that stuff is very present in the book as well.
So in the acknowledgments, you say that you were in Asheville when you saw a little door on like the exterior of a building and it kind of piqued your interest and made you start writing. Can you tell us a little more about the inspiration behind the book and how it might have evolved as you were writing?
Yeah. So this little door, it's kind of hard to explain. It's right around the corner from my office. I walk past it all the time, but I've been meaning to stop and like take pictures of it so that I can share it with people. But there are a series of little doors that are maybe like this big and they're kind of different heights. And it looks like a little fairy village almost. And
Oh,
they're just, Asheville's full of art, like full of street art and installations and, you know, that kind of thing. And so I'm assuming that's what this is. And it's just at the bottom of a building. You're just walking on the sidewalk and all of a sudden you see these little doors down there. I'm sure plenty of people actually miss them. But I saw them one day when I was on a scouting trip to start making arrangements to move here. And I just couldn't stop thinking about them. Like these questions of like, where do these doors lead if they open, and where would they take you, and all of that kind of just was the seed of the idea. I normally don't get ideas in that form. Normally I get an idea for a story in a picture that's kind of in my mind, but this one definitely started with that little seed. And then the pictures started coming for me. And it, you know, eventually it turned into, well, I guess I don't want to spoil
no,
anything,
no,
but
yeah.
it took me in some very unexpected directions. And the story that we wound up with, I did not see coming at all when I initially saw that little door. But that's really where it started.
I
Very
love
cool.
that. Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, did you expect that this was the story that you would come out with? So I love that. Were there any of these characters? There's a cast of characters, and I think they're all wonderful. Was there anybody that was like inspired by somebody you know, somebody you care about, or were they all just they just developed as you were writing the story?
I think they just pretty much developed as I was writing. I don't tend to really write characters based on real people in my head, although I do, in retrospect, look back on some characters and see that I kind of pulled little things from people I know or interactions I've had with certain people. So there is that. But in this book in particular, I don't think, I mean, and I'm always putting myself into all my characters too, in different, you know, quantities and shapes and sizes. I feel like there's little details that leak into every character, but I don't think there's anybody in particular in this story that I'm like, this person was totally inspired, by this person.
So speaking of the characters, the cast was incredible and the glaring majority of them were so likable. Obviously, there's some characters that you want to kick off a cliff. But we know that without giving away spoilers, some of them may be left wondering about specific things forever. Was it hard to write about characters that you knew might have to live out the rest of their days with this no answers to something that's going to eat them alive?
Yeah, it was very hard.
You broke our heart.
I broke my own heart. I feel like in order to make a choice, like I kept trying to find a way around this as a writer, and I eventually had to accept that it doesn't work. I kept trying to find a way. There's a big choice that has to happen in the book, and I wanted to finagle it so that it would be less painful somehow. But the problem with that is that there's no, like, the stakes of the choice are nothing if you're not giving something really big up, on the other side. And I did write a version in which in the very first draft, there was kind of like a little epilogue that was like kind of soothing that balm a little bit of like, some answers maybe were given, or like some hearts were mended because of a piece of information. And I just didn't feel good about it at all. And when I gave it to my editor, I was like, I just knew it wasn't right. And then my editor was like, no. Yeah. And I was like, I knew it. I should have followed it. So I wound up cutting that. And now it's not even really applicable to the book because the story changed so much that now, even if I put the epilogue in the end, it wouldn't totally make sense. But yeah, it was really difficult to put my main character in that position and then have to deal with the consequences.
That was definitely heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I kept thinking like there's gonna be a way. There's gonna be a way.
Yeah.
And then there was not.
Yeah. We were really both super sad.
Yeah. I think it's a testament to how strong your craft is that you're able to like break your own heart a little bit as you're writing, because not only is your main character going through and having to make this difficult decision, but so are you. So yeah. I'm curious, is that something that you'd have to do a lot? Like, do you have to put yourself in the shoes of your main characters and just feel what they're feeling? Or are you able to separate yourself a little bit from it and not hurt so much?
Oh, I have no separation. No separation at all. Like, I have no boundaries with my books. Like, I feel like the books that I've written, all stories I've written, I feel like are very personal to me. I'm putting a lot of my own pain in every single one of my books. And I think I've always been that way. All writers have a different relationship with their books and their processes, but for me, it's always been this way. And I feel like I am often really working things out and it kind of turns into my books kind of become like little time capsules of my life where it's like, I was really dealing with this at this time. I was really thinking about this. I was trying to reconcile this. And so this book is no different. I mean, I'm very close to it. It's very emotional for me. And even though like, I'm sure there are plenty of people who'd be like, that's not healthy. It just is true. Like, it's just true. And at this point, like I've accepted it, like this is my creative process. And I like it this way, honestly.
So there's a quote in the book that really resonated with me. I'm in Georgia. So like I grew up the way you describe the setting in this book is incredible because like I spent every summer in Cherokee and Maggie Valley and as a child and then and so like I spent a lot of time in North Carolina growing up, but I also grew up in the Bible Belt. And you say in this quote, the morbid superior curiosity of people who pretended to be good Christian folk was something that was still alive and well in Jasper. Is there any self-insert in that experience of being that subject of the curiosity and attention from the psycho church folk that everybody in the South comes to expect?
Yeah. I mean, this book does definitely deal with my own like religious trauma. I grew up in Texas, which is, every state in the South, even though Texas isn't technically the South, but the areas of the country in which evangelical Christianity is much more entrenched in the culture of of the area rather than just like a personal choice or whatever. It was very taboo where I grew up to not to at least say that you were religious, you know? And so I think that throughout my life, I've had a very evolving relationship with religion. And this book definitely taps in to some of that for me. I mean, like I said, like the books are personal, and I was dealing with a number of personal issues when I was working on this story. And that came forward pretty early on in the story development for June Farrow, that this was going to be kind of a theme. And even just like as the mystery unfolds, like I'm not going to say anything too specific, but like it really digs into some of my own feelings and symbolism, you know. And I know so many people where religion is so life-giving and comforting to them, and then I know people who use it for control and, you know, all of that, all those other things that I'm sure a lot of us have experienced as well. And so I think that I was definitely like marinating on some things when I was writing this book.
Well, it was so relatable. It was so relatable that I was like, I could picture like the people in my childhood and like teenage years where it's like, this is describing this lady that, you know,
Yeah.
had a lot of skeletons, but you couldn't look at those
Yeah.
because she's a Christian
Yeah.
lady.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was such a relatable thing to read.
Mhm.
So we're going to switch gears a little bit, and this is a question that we ask all of our authors. This is the moment where everything that you have ever consumed, you've read, watched, anything like that, leaves your brain. So
Mhm.
we have a segment we call Fictional Boyfriend of the Week, where we pick a fictional character. Doesn't have to be a boyfriend, but like a fictional character that we just really vibed with that week. This week we were
Mhm.
both very much feeling Mason.
Yeah.
But is there a fictional character or anything like that that you just, this is a character that everybody needs to meet? Like you would go to bat for them?
Yeah, there's a lot. The one that's popping into my head first is, and now his name is escaping me, his character name, but the character that Pedro Pascal plays in The Last of Us. If you guys have seen The Last of Us, it's a
What's
zombie
his
show.
name?
I
Oh
It's
no, I
I
didn't
it's
watch it, but my husband played the game.
yeah.
So
Like
yeah.
it just it
yeah, in the TV show, it's the main character. He is just, I just want to keep him safe and protect him forever. And he's like totally a character like that for me. So not on the, like, obviously not like on the maybe traditional book boyfriend front, although I think a lot of people have a crush on Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
But he's the one that this year like was a new media like consumption for me that I loved so much.
That's how I feel about Harry Styles. I get it. Like I just want to put him in my pocket and carry him around and just cherish him
Yeah.
forever.
Yes.
I just want to protect you from everything.
Those are the best too. It's like you just like you need protection. I'm just gonna hold you right here.
Yeah,
You're
I'm just
gonna be
gonna hold you,
fine.
it's fine. So my first foray into your books and your world was Fable, Namesake, and Saint, which are these swashbuckling pirate stories that take place on boats and like ocean towns. And then we have June Farrow, which is in the rural mountains of North Carolina. What's it like swapping worlds like that, even if they take place in a fictionalized version of this world? Like, is it difficult to jump between such different settings?
I didn't find that aspect very difficult, just because there is like this magic in my adult novels that still give it that feeling of like anything's possible. And Spells for Forgetting was the same way too. That was my adult debut last year that came out in 2022. And it's kind of very invigorating for me to step outside of fantasy, like straight up YA fantasy, and kind of play in a different like playground, I guess, for lack of better words, when it comes to my writing, because writing June Farrow and Spells for Forgetting were just hugely life-giving for me as a storyteller. Like they were very challenging. I had to learn a lot of new skills with my craft that I hadn't used before. And then I take those things back to my fantasy novels as well. And they kind of like feed each other in a lot of ways. And so it's been a really cool experience. And it also kind of is a little bit of a palate palate cleanser for me when it comes to story, because I switch on and work on something really different. And then like I just turned in my first draft of like my next YA fantasy. And now I'm going in and I'm working on my next adult novel. And it's kind of like, I don't know, it feels like I think it helps with like not getting too burned out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's similar to advice. I don't remember who said it, but I feel like multiple authors have said you should read in other genres than you're writing too,
Yeah.
because you will learn things that you wouldn't have known about how to write, and you may insert things that you wouldn't have had otherwise. So I feel
Yeah,
like those kind of go
absolutely.
together. That's really cool.
Yeah, they do.
Speaking
cool.
of your next projects, is there anything that you can tell us about what's coming next from you? Like, what can we expect from Adrienne Young?
Yeah, so my next young adult book is called Fallen City, or at least that's what it's called right now. And it's going to be a duology. It's a Greco-Roman inspired fantasy that takes place in a city under siege. They're like separated like lovers on two different sides of the city. And there's a lot of kind of like, it feels a little bit like marrying a lot of what I loved to do in the fable world and my roots with like Sky in the Deep and The Girl the Sea Gave Back, because this series has like a lot more like battles and, you know, action and things like that, more political stuff. Whereas with Fable, it was so much more about like interpersonal relationships and obviously a vast world, but working on Fallen City kind of feels like bringing some elements together from the two for me. It's been really fun to work on. And then I have another adult novel coming as well that's very much in the vein of Spells for Forgetting and The Unmaking of June Farrow. It's not connected to those books. It's another standalone, but it's another small town mystery with romance and magic. And we haven't started talking yet about it, except for I have an Instagram subscription, and that we are kind of documenting the process of that book in that space. But I think we'll probably be making an announcement about it pretty soon to kind of let the cat out of the bag.
That's so
Oh my
exciting.
gosh, that's so exciting.
Those both
Okay,
sound
we
amazing.
have another question that we always ask, just because we know we love your books, but we want to know what books you love. What are you reading, or like what are your favorite? Everyone should read this books.
Well, I just finished rereading the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, which is one of my all-time favorite YA's fantasy. It's a trilogy that came out, I don't even know what year it was published. It's been a while now, but it's by Laini Taylor. And I feel like it has just so many favorite aspects of fantasy inspirational to me when I was an aspiring author. And I kind of feel like I've been in a little bit of a reading rut. And so I decided to go back and reread that series for, I don't know, maybe the 6th or 8th time, something like that. So I just finished that. I'm always like, everyone should read that. And then I feel like I've been reading a lot, again, reading very widely in the last 2 years, different age categories, different genres. Definitely reading nonfiction, but it's kind of been all over the map. Probably my favorite read last year was a book called Wrong Place, Wrong Time, and it's mystery. It's like crime mystery, but it is told in a backwards timeline, and it kind of like just the format is so different and fresh and intriguing. And although it's this like untraditional mystery, it's also very much like an exploration of motherhood and like a meditation on motherhood and what that is. And it was just so unexpected. That one really, really got me. But there's, I mean, a bunch of books that I've read and loved in the last couple of years, especially, and ones I'm looking forward to that are coming out.
Very cool.
I'm excited. Those both sound amazing.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna have to add them to my list.
yeah.
My never-ending list.
This is the part of the interview where Mandy is not going to apologize, and I'll pretend to be sorry about it. But we're sorry to inform you that now that you have been on the podcast, you are legally obligated to come back for every book release you have.
No big deal. Sneak that one in there.
just slide that in. No, we really appreciate you stopping by. June Farrow was, again, amazing.
Absolutely incredible.
Everybody,
I'm still reeling.
By the time this episode releases, it will be out in the world, so everybody needs to go pick up a copy.
I should probably hold it up.
Oh yeah.
I have it on my Kindle here. So you guys Patreon members can see the cover.
Yes. And it's a beautiful cover.
Yeah. It's a beautiful book.
It's a beautiful book. It's a beautiful cover. It's a beautiful author. We're
Yes.
so thankful for you stopping by. Thank you for chatting with us, and we can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you guys so much for having me. There is a lot more coming. I have a problem. So
We don't want you to
we
fix it.
no, don't we like this problem.
plenty to look forward to. So thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll
We'll
talk
talk
soon.
soon.
Bye.
Bye. Did we just talk to Adrienne Young? We talked to Saint's mother.
Oh my
Saint's
gosh.
mother was here.
I love her.
This is crazy. And not only have we talked to Saint's mother, we're going to talk to Felix's parent too.
Yes.
What?
What a day.
This
What
is
a day.
crazy day.
The best.
It's a very
The best
crazy
kind
day.
of crazy. Yeah. Anyways, everybody go get a copy of The Unmaking of June Farrow. It is so good.
I will never shut up about this book. It was so like if you are in the South and like to read, you will love this book if you like grew up here, because it is such a Southern book, and I don't know how to explain that other than if you know, you know. Like I don't mean that in like a snarky, snotty way. Like
No, like
if
literally.
you know, like it's like I was reading my life as far as the setting of this book goes.
And
Crazy.
I have been a city girl my entire life. I have lived in California my entire life. And this book made me want to pack everything up and move to the country, move to the
I need you to come visit, and I will take you to like Nantahala or Bryson City, or like I told her, Cherokee and Maggie Valley. Like it was like I was driving to go on a vacation with my grandparents, or like to get a cabin with my husband. Like so much of my life has been spent in settings like the one in June Farrow. It's crazy. So come visit and we'll do a North Carolina trip.
I'm all for that. It's seriously, it's such a beautiful book, and I felt like so unexpected at times, and I definitely think that I agree. Like go into this with as little information as possible because you won't regret it. It is so good.
I said it in my review, but just to give the people that one last push, very different stories. Okay. Not the same story at all. But if you liked The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow, you will love The Unmaking of June Farrow. It's so good. And now I say I'm now almost shut up about it. I ain't never gonna shut up about this book. But
no, this is the episode where we're just gonna be promoting these books because both of them are phenomenal, and I will not stop talking about them.
I did have to put in my review that people a lot of times like to mention that I don't have a super Southern accent, and to those people I say, how do you pronounce OIL?
Oil.
Oh. It's all like I have my Southern words.
Oh my god.
Promise I was born here and raised here. You should, and I said in my review, you should see me around my grandparents because that's when I turn into cornbread. And the honey, it like my accent turns into honey, and we are so Southern, and I don't know what happens. If I'm with my grandparents, I sound like I was birthed by the South. I don't know. Anyways.
And that sound means we have another intruder alert.
It's an intruder alert.
So excited. This week we have the incredible honor of speaking with the amazing, the very talented Karin Calendar. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
We are so excited to talk to you, especially about this beauty right here. Stars in Your Eyes. I have not stopped thinking about this book since I read it. It will forever live rent-free in my mind.
Oh, thank you.
In case anybody doesn't know anything about it, can you give us a quick like elevator pitch about what the book is about?
Oh boy. I really suck at elevator pitches, so let me see if I can boil it down to a quick couple sentences. Basically, two actors, Logan and Maddie, are starring opposite in a rom-com film, but due to Logan's mistakes, shall we say, the two are put together into a fake romance in order to amp up the buzz for the movie. Kind of did okay with that elevator bit.
Yeah. It does encompass like the story. It's such a simple description for such a complicated and nuanced book.
Yeah.
And it works really well, I think.
It's hard to figure out how to delved into also saying like it delves a lot with like trauma and healing and growth, because the pitch sounds so like rom-com-y buzzy that it's difficult to figure out how to explain, but there's so much more in there too.
Definitely.
Oh, you did good.
Yeah.
So we've seen PR relationships in the past where everybody looks, at these two celebrities that are dating, and it's like there's no like this is staged. Was there like a particular celebrity couple or like breakup that you drew inspiration from with Maddie and Logan?
I feel like I'm gonna get in trouble for this. Even the book had to like go to legal for the for that whole concept, because I dropped a few names in there. But definitely Pete Davidson has just been on my mind the entire time as I was writing. It was like I feel like every single one of his relationships are pretty staged,
Yeah.
but allegedly staged, not
Allegedly, yes.
not actually. Pete Davidson's team, do not come after me.
No, I can definitely see that as
Yeah.
an inspiration point for sure.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
So I listened to the audiobook, which gave me so much life, especially the uwu hearts scenes. They were like the comic relief you needed in such a heavy story at times. What gave you the idea to throw those in there?
Are you talking about the AO3 fanfic?
Yes.
Specific?
The
Yeah.
username was uwu hearts.
Hearts, yeah.
Yeah.
I love fan fiction. So I'm not I'm on AO3. I have a secret account, as I feel like most authors do. So I'm not like putting my nose up at it. But I do feel like there is like a interesting idea or concept around the idea of like writing about real people as if they're characters. So I kind of wanted to put that in for the theme of the book. One of the themes of the books of like the parasocial relationships that fans often have with celebrities and feeling like they know who celebrities are, which is a part of Logan's trauma. But as you said, also just wanted some comic relief in there, like the ridiculousness of
vampires.
Right. The werewolf and the vampire and the like, having fun at the club bit.
It was such like the most like loving call out of AO3.
Yes, like it wasn't an
existed.
insulting way.
Yeah.
At all. It was just perfect. It was perfect.
Was excellent. So you do delve into, like we've said, some heavy topics. Specifically for me, the biphobia was there and it hurt my soul, but like obviously that's something that happens. Was any of like the traumatic stuff, the hard stuff that you were writing, was it hard to get through that, or were you able to kind of I know that you said that this book is based on partially on some of your own experiences. Was it hard to separate yourself from that, or were you able to kind of remember like, yes, this stuff has happened, but also people need to see it on the page?
Yeah, when I first sat down to write the book, it wasn't that the hard stuff wasn't really a part of the plan at all. I really did just sit down to write this rom-com buzzy book about two actors who fall in love, all the fun tropes that you're hoping for. And I think that what tends to happen, I've realized, is all the traumas that I'm healing are so deeply woven into the subconscious that I can be writing a character and all of that stuff will just start to come out. So I did not plan at all for any of this to really happen to Logan specifically, but that's just, I'm sure a lot of writers say that characters are based on their own stories, their own healing, their own character arcs in some way. Like our life stories feel like character arcs a lot of the time, and Logan really just took over in that sense. And I also felt like the romance for me did not feel as authentic without putting in my own experiences. So it felt very like forced, because that's not what my experience with romance is. So I feel like Logan took over for that reason. And I'm happy that he did, because it has struck me. I had been wanting to write like a romance novel dealing with more traumatic themes, because it has struck me that I love romance books. Don't get me wrong. I have plenty that I absolutely love, are some of my favorite books. But I'm like, there are so many different experiences that people have with relationships. I'm not really seeing my experience with relationships on the page. It always feels like it kind of makes me think, is it always so easy for people? Like, is it really just easy to fall in love with people? And I feel like that almost adds or exasperates the trauma of CPTSD specifically, because it kind of feels like, am I completely alone in this and not really being able to connect with other humans? Like, it just feels like the idea of romance, this very like happy cloud, it feels like it's realistic for everyone else but for the person who might have suffered from trauma or CPTSD.
You literally like just walked right into a question that I have written down. So recently you posted a blog about Stars Stars in Your Eyes. And in it, you mention this harmful societal idea that until you find this other person, you can't be happy.
Mhm.
And it's a lot of pressure to put on both parties in a relationship if you think about it. So then you go on to explain that, like a lot of us, TikTok revealed some things to you about yourself,
Mhm.
including the eventual CPTSD diagnosis.
Mhm.
Without going more personally than you're comfortable with, can you explain like what that is and how, without spoilers, you were able to work it into Stars in Your Eyes for other people who may not realize that that's what they're going through?
Sure. Yeah. And thank you for adding that last point, because I feel like that has become something I'm like a bit passionate about talking about, because it feels like there are no resources out there for, enough resources that it was obvious enough for me that that's what I was going through. So CPTSD is complex PTSD. I feel like I should not say I have zero licensing. I'm not like a professional.
Right.
Like, please do not be like, oh, Casey said I have CPTSD. But so for me, it meant having like chronic traumas throughout childhood specifically, where someone with PTSD that they experience in their adulthood might be able to say, okay, I have this one traumatic event that gives me these symptoms, but I'm able to return to myself. But if I'm a child from like the ages of 5 to 10 years old going through these chronic experiences, I don't have that idea of who to return to. So it's kind of like I have the different symptoms, such as dissociation, which is kind of like what's starting to happen now, where it's like I have like a haze that makes it difficult to speak or to feel like I'm present in my body. So that happens quite a lot. I didn't even know what that was. And TikTok started to like throw in, I feel like these algorithms are just created
They
for
know.
us.
Oh
They
my
know.
God.
How they know, I don't know.
It's
Exactly.
insane.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you happen to like fantasy with bad boy main characters. Maybe there's a reason for it. Here's some information on dissociation. It's like, oh, I go through that. And then it kind of like the algorithm continues to give more and more information. And generally it was just like healing, and then suddenly started to get information on CPTSD. At first, I thought it was autism, and who knows, maybe it is. Also, you can have multiple neurodivergent diagnoses, I guess. But so from there, was finally able to learn a lot more about different therapies that I really do not feel like, in my case, I ever saw any mention of. So it really did like change my life, especially with healing. So therapies that are more like body based, that allow for more like physical body processing that you can't really necessarily always talk yourself out of. So I can talk about like I'm anxious all day, every day, but that's not going to help my body process the anxiety in a way that's healing. So different therapies like EMDR and brain spotting are the two that I've done. Were just life changing. And I don't even remember what the original question was, and if I answered that.
Well, it was, you've kind of touched on it. It was, how did you work that into the book and in a way that other people could identify with it, which I thought was so cool, because that takes a lot of talent
Yeah.
to be able to write like that.
Yeah, I think showing Logan's symptoms on the page or things that I've experienced, maybe someone will be able to read the book and say, oh, I experienced that also. And to see Logan throughout there, these therapy notes where Logan has been diagnosed with CPTSD. So maybe someone will be able to think to themselves, I experienced dissociation exactly like Logan described. I experienced depression exactly like Logan described. Maybe create like a connection for themselves too.
Yeah.
Very cool. And I'm sure so many people, once they get to read this book, are going to be so appreciative to see themselves represented.
Mhm.
Even like we said, I don't know how TikTok knows things about you that you don't know about yourself, but they do.
Right.
So they'll be like, how does this book know me so well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could help so many people, which is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of like social media and its effect on us as a society now, what was the thought process behind the incorporation of like the multimedia? Like there's, Twitter posts, and there's a YouTuber, there's
YouTuber.
all these different, not things that we normally see in a book. Like, did you actively go in knowing that these are things that you're going to incorporate because they're celebrities, or did that kind of transpire because of the way the story moved along?
Yeah, I think the first scene that you see from Maddie's perspective as he walks into the room was the original first scene in the book. But I think as I was working on the novel, I really wanted to find ways to show that these are celebrities, and it didn't feel enough for the characters to say, I'm a celebrity, I'm famous. I wanted to show it from the perspectives of hundreds of different strangers from like Twitter. And I don't think I actually had hundreds of different strangers, whatever, like dozens of different people who are saying like, oh, I'm so obsessed with Maddie, I'm so obsessed with Logan, or whatever, to really actually give the feel that they were celebrities.
Yeah, I loved it. And it's such like a commentary, I feel like, and I don't know if you did this intentionally, but it's such a commentary on the idea of a parasocial relationship and how celebrities aren't actually human people, because the way
Right.
that some of these people talk. Like, I would never,
You've
you would
seen
never,
that.
you see that on the internet all the time, but
Right.
Exactly.
there's no way anybody is actually going up to somebody and saying things like that. And it's like,
Oh, I bet they
God.
are.
Ugh.
I bet they are, because there are terrible people out there.
Yeah, I think we all make the mistake of feeling like another human is not really seeing that the other human reflects that we are that human as well, if that makes any sense. Like the
Right.
mistakes another person makes are mistakes that we might make. And I feel like we tend to, I mean, I've seen it before I quit Twitter, so many conversations specifically within the author sphere of people saying like, oh, you have like 100,000 plus followers and therefore you don't get to have an opinion, or you don't get to like feel sad about people disliking it. There's just something dehumanizing about people that we've put onto platforms and feeling like we have the access to deciding because they're on the platform,
Yeah.
exactly, like what they're allowed to feel, how they're allowed to react. And even what I'm saying now, I can imagine people being like, you're a celebrity apologizer. Of course we get to say, just because they're celebrities, like we get to have an opinion. So it's just like I don't know, it's all a very strange conversation to me, in the sense of how easy it is for us to like dehumanize others for pleasure and entertainment.
Yeah.
It's very true. And it's
Yeah.
scary how someone could so easily get behind a keyboard and tell another human being to end their life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what is wrong? Who raised you? What is wrong with you? Like, you don't like a celebrity and you don't want to support them any longer? Fine. That's great. I've done that. I'm not going to get on the internet and tell somebody off, though, because that's crazy. I just don't have to spend my money with you.
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling. So without giving away any spoilers, first I want to thank you for writing a story that outlines that a happy ending doesn't have to be skipping off into the sunset together. You wrote something much more beautiful and complex and more realistic, and I hope to see more stories like that. So in that vein, what comes next? Like, is there anything that you're working on? Anything that you can tell us about?
I don't know what's next, honestly. I have like a couple of ideas that are floating around in my head, but honestly these days I'm like, maybe it's time to take like a few months off of writing at the very least, and just kind of like rest. I've been writing like nonstop for years, literally.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know what's next. I do hope to write another adult romance in the future, just because I enjoyed writing this one so much, but I'm not totally sure yet.
I think you have earned your time off and rest. Like,
thank you.
Yeah, you have put out some fantastic books that speak to a lot of people, Stars and Felix, and gosh, I don't even know, like I read both of them recently, and it was very much like I feel like a part of myself healed a little bit, because not only are these complicated and real characters, like people that you would meet in real life, but like you are so able to encapsulate just like real human experiences. Yeah, that even if you're not personally going through it, it's like, oh, that is incredibly relatable. So,
or someone who is.
Yeah, so take your rest, you deserve it.
Yes.
Thank you for saying that.
On a completely different vein, we have a segment on the podcast that we call Fictional Boyfriend of the Week. And this is the moment where every single thing you have ever consumed will leave your brain. But is there a fictional character, somebody that you just think every single person needs to meet them at some point in their life? You would go to bat for this person.
It doesn't have to be a boyfriend. We just call it.
Yeah.
That is definitely hard. Well, is that a Sierra Simone book that is sitting behind you on your shelf? No, right there. Saint?
Which one?
Maybe that's a different.
No, that's Saint. Adrienne Young.
Okay, it's a different Saint. Okay, so I did enjoy Sierra Simone, and I think because of that, the first thing that's coming to mind is one of the characters in that book, whose of course name I can't even remember at this point. And I wish I could think of another character, but nothing's coming up.
It happens all the time. Like
it happens to Karin even. When authors are like, "Hey, who's your?" Mine are always locked and loaded. Like I have like my favorites that don't change.
My brain just
her brain just goes like, "Oh my god, have I read a book? What are books?
Yeah,
what are books?"
It's like when you get put on the spot.
I know
you're gonna wake up at 3 a.m. like, "Oh."
Exactly.
Yeah. And of course, I have like all of my books in front of me, and I'm like, what? Like, I'm trying to look at the titles, but I'm sorry, I'm prepared for that one. The answer is I do not know.
I think last week one or both of ours was Ezra.
And Leah
was my fictional bestie. I want a best friend like Leah that like lives here, that will kick anybody over if they say anything sideways. Like I thought she was so cool.
Yes.
I
That's
Oh my
freaking
God.
loved her.
She would go to bat for anybody that she cares about, and I think everybody deserves Aaliyah in their corner.
Yes. Oh my
Thank you.
gosh. Okay. This is not a question, but something else that I thought was so freaking cool is that Maddie goes home to Decatur, Georgia, which is like an hour and a half from me.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like, that's where I do all my author. Like when I go to an author event, it's in Decatur. And so it was like, oh my God, Georgia.
There's like a huge, the reason I chose Decatur is because there's like a huge author population there,
Yes.
right? Yeah. Okay.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I went
It's like, I
there
don't know how
once
this
for one book
happened.
event and I was like, oh, I did not know all of you were here.
Yeah. Well, now it's time after you take your rest. Now it's time to come back once you're done with that. So we have, unfortunately, another question that is gonna still make everything leave. What are you reading, or like what media are you like? Everybody should watch this show. Everybody has to see this movie. Everybody has to read this book.
There was something in my brain that was like, oh, I've been watching and loving this. And of course, it just escaped me. So
The second the
That's what it
question
was.
gets asked, everything just
Yeah, it's like
flies
I don't know what
away.
a TV show is. I've never seen a TV in my life.
is.
What's a movie theater? I don't know.
I haven't actually started it, but I'm really excited to read Newport's. Yeah, Second Chances in Newport. Have you
I
seen them?
haven't, but I've seen it, and I've been like, I want to get my hands on that. So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have not had a chance to read it just yet. I just got it. I went to a book convention and the author was there, and all they had to say was that it has a trans guy as one of the characters. They're like, hell yeah, please
sold.
sign me up.
Give me.
Sold.
That's
And I
fine.
felt bad because it was supposed to be for booksellers, and I was like, not a bookseller. Please have one of your.
Please. That cover is great.
Yeah, I do like it a lot.
That's
Yeah, I have been
okay.
watching something I cannot remember for the life of me what it is. So, oh well.
That's okay. It
It's
happens.
okay. It happens to all of us.
Really.
Have been watching something all week and I could not tell you what it is. And I watch every night, but I don't know what color my socks are right now. Okay. So I have to look.
So this is the part of the interview where Mandy will have absolutely no shame. I'll pretend that I'm sorry, but I'm really not. But we regret to inform you that now that you have been on the podcast, you are legally obligated to come back for every book release you ever have from here until eternity.
I would actually love to. Hopefully I will have another book release, but
Yeah, whether or not you do, feel free to come back because
Yeah,
it has
just come
been
back and hang
a
out.
pleasure talking to you. It's so much fun.
thank you guys for
We
having
had a
me.
blast.
We had
Yes, thank you so much. Everybody go get a copy of Stars in Your Eyes. You have to buy the book, of course, but then I also 10 out of 10 recommend the audiobook because it is so good. The full cast of characters or narrators for all of the different minor characters too is just chef's kiss. My hat's off to everyone involved in that. It was awesome.
It is out now. Everybody go pick up a copy. I beg of you. I need to talk to more people about it. It is so good. I will never stop talking about this book. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. It has been a joy.
Yay, thank you. Thanks for having me.
We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye. Oh my gosh. They're a doll.
Oh my
They're an
God.
actual doll.
Actually, yes. 100%.
And we remembered the selfie that we forgot with Adrian earlier.
It's because I wrote it down in my notes.
The second that we that she logged off, we were like, Karin texted me. She was like, oh no.
We're dumb.
But we got our selfie with Kason. Kason is
a
wonderful.
Dream.
Little dream.
A wonderful, amazing human being and so talented. And seriously, please go pick up Stars in Your Eyes and then email us and talk to us about it.
Yeah.
Because
we need more people to talk about.
Love it so much. So much. I can't believe we just did that.
I can't either.
Case and calendar. Heart.
So everybody, Adrian Young and Case and Calendar, what a day, right?
I'm still not sure that really happened. So cool.
I'm pinching myself and I can feel it. So
all right.
You ready for a spiel?
I am, but it is not time for a spiel because we have to tell the folks who are listening what is coming next week, because we do have another guest next week, and I think her. Nobody's surprised. Amber D. Lewis is coming back for the final installment of the Fire and Starlight saga.
That doesn't seem real.
I don't like that.
Like, I'm glad that they came out so fast because I could not have waited much longer. But it's like, man, this was so fast.
It's over.
I
It's
feel like
over.
we just had our first interview with her,
And now it's the end.
which we'll still have more because she's still writing all of the things.
Absolutely.
But
Yes.
yeah, I'm
But
sad to see if the Fire and Starlight Saga close.
come back next week and hear our conversation with Amber. We'll be talking about the Stars Amid the Storm, which is book 4 of the Fire and Starlight Saga. And we'll probably just, I don't know, talk
Cry a little.
nonsense because it's Amber and we just fangirl out with her.
Shenanigans.
Many shenanigans. It'll be a lot of fun. And now it is time for a spiel.
I was jumping ahead. It's
You
because you
were.
have that announcement written down and I don't have them in my notes. I just have announcements blank.
That's fair.
I was super prepared with questions. I was super unprepared for announcements
That's
because
okay.
you were prepared.
That's why there's 2 of us.
Yay!
All right, friends, if you enjoyed this episode, please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you are listening to us. Please follow us on social media. We are at The Incoherent Fangirl on all the things. You can also visit our website, which hosts all of our episodes as well as our blog, theincoherentfangirl.com. There's so many reviews. I literally posted like 2 last night and 2 just now before we logged on to record. So lots to read there. And shout out to Angie, who just texted me the other day, like, I'm caught up on the blog. I've read all of them.
Angie,
I'm like,
your eyes.
my girl.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
I love you.
We love you. Please also subscribe to our Patreon, theincoherentfangirl.com/Patreon. You'll get early access to all new podcast episodes, as well as video episodes, depending on what tier you sign up for. And we are going to start dropping some more like early sneak peeks as to who we're inviting onto the podcast, who is coming to talk to us. And I promise you do not want to miss who's coming up because it's insane.
I know. Not real life. This is fake.
It's not real life, but it is because we have the emails to prove it.
Yeah.
And if you want to get some awesome merch, head over to our merch store, theincoherentfangirl.com/shop. There are some pretty cute things there. I'm just saying. I'm a fan of it. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions you want to tell us, we're pretty. We will accept all of those in our inbox.
Yes.
theincoherentfangirl@gmail.com. We love hearing from y'all.
You guys are all right, I guess.
And one final way to support the podcast is to rate and review on whatever platform you are listening to us on. Please give us your words. We love your words.
Like your words a lot.
She is at Mandy Perv on all the things.
She's at Ms. Made in China on all the things.
And once you have followed us on social media and you followed the podcast on social media, head over and do some self-care during this time when seasonal depression is for real.
It's coming, guys.
Self-care is so important, so make sure you're doing that by maybe doing some shopping. Head over to
Retail
our
therapy is
besties.
therapy, okay?
It
I don't
really
care what
is.
anybody else says.
Visit our besties. They're amazing. Starting with Here Comes the Nerd. Visit herecomesthenerd.com. Use code FANGIRL and you'll get 20% off your first order.
Then you can head to onceuponabookclub.com, get a book box, get some goodies. We have 2 codes for you. No, you cannot stack them, but we love you no matter whose code you use, whatever, as long as you're ordering from our besties. That's all that matters to us. So either use code Karin10 or Mandy10 to get 10% off. Just make sure you spell Karin right. Karin. She's not a regular Karin.
I'm a cool Karin. And if you get that reference, we can
We're
be
besties. Yeah.
Next up, you're going to head over to entrancingelixirs.com. It's cozy season. You need some tea.
It is time. I've been
to keep
drinking
you
hot
cozy.
drinks every night.
Yeah. So you're going to want to go to entrancingelixirs.com, use code FANGIRLT, and you'll get 10% off your order. But remember, unlike Karin, there is no I in fangirl. It's FANGRLTEA.
And last but certainly not least, you know we love her, Amber D. Lewis. I cannot wait to see what comes next. We're talking to her next week. But before that episode, you need to go ahead and order. Go to amberdlewis.com and buy everything. Just everything on the website. Every book, every sticker, all of it. And if you use code fangirl10, you'll get 10% off your purchase.
You're not going to want to miss it.
No.
And once you have finished supporting our internet besties and supporting us because we love you, I guess you can support the show husband if you feel like it, if you have time.
Look, for the next, I think it's 3 or 4 episodes, there's cameos with yours truly, because they have someone as a producer who sits behind the scenes and kind of listens and adds commentary and looks things up if they need it. And their normal guy wasn't able to come at their last recording session. So I was able to set the record straight on who calls who stupid in the morning. It's nobody. And I didn't get any answers, but I was able to ask the searchers about their fictional boyfriends of the week. And I called myself an intruder alert. So you're going to want to look up the Paranormal Mind and go listen to their episode after you listen to this one. And then head over to searchersbelieve.com. There's merch. Still haven't got the fall merch done because
Life.
lazy. But anything that's there, if you use code fangirl10, you'll get 10% off. And seriously, go listen to the next few episodes because they're pretty funny, if I do say so myself.
Hair flip.
And I got to tell everybody that Harry Styles was in the room on like 2 iterations of Harry Styles because they strategically placed their cameras to hide him.
Rude.
Not anymore. Their listeners know he's there now.
And please remember that if somebody is policing your spending, we will lie for you.
Mm-hmm.
Just drop us a line. We'll let them know you want a giveaway. Congratulations. We're so happy for you.
Yep. You did it, bestie. And the fact that it was the one thing that you really, really wanted online is just
Kismet.
Yeah.
It was meant to be.
That's just, weird
So
coincidences happen. So yeah, we're happy for you.
And that was a very special episode.
That was a very, very special episode
of the Incoherent Fangirl. Thanks for listening.
We love
you.
Bye.
We are sponsored by our friends at Here Comes the Nerd. Pins, stickers, magnets, and more. Here Comes the Nerd has happy art for all fandom-loving hearts. New customers can use coupon code FANGIRL during checkout for 20% off their first order at HereComesTheNerd.com. Coupon applies to ready-to-ship items only.